Right.
Insta, YouTube, you really don't have any idea as to who the person was who's
Correct. Correct.
left a comment.
Right.
So beyond a point, Aditya, you start, you know, the comments help you first of all to improve. Sometimes you need to take the comments in the right style because somebody may have given you great feedback,
Right.
and you need to be open to what the other person has said.
Mhm.
But many a times, you actually need to ignore these comments also
Right. Okay.
because somebody may have left that comment in sheer frustration.
Mhm.
That person may have had a bad day in his life or a bad moment that he was passing through,
Yeah.
and he actually had to vent out his anger on somebody.
Mhm.
And on social media, being on YouTube or Insta, that's the best part. You just open up anything, write any rubbish, and you just walk off.
Uh-huh.
So you want to be able to differentiate between a comment which is a good feedback,
Mhm.
and you need to be taking that in the right earnest versus.
Welcome, listeners and viewers, to another very special episode on the ULab Central podcast. This is the 25th episode that we're doing, and I have a very special guest, Mr. Vikas Bansal, with me. So, Vikas, would you like to tell our audience why they should be excited about our conversation today?
Okay, not being that special. First of all, we belong to the same college, belong to the same alma mater, right? So we
Yeah.
both are graduates from IIM Indore. That's one thing which is common in both of us, uh, except for the fact that we graduated about 2 decades apart. Yeah, so right. So Aditya, I was I in fact pursued engineering like what most people did during my
Yeah.
era, 1990s, and then worked a couple of years, then did my PGDM from IIM Indore, then again worked close to about 17 and a half years. And then had about 20 years of work ex, and I was mentally getting prepared for my second innings. I really
Mhm.
didn't want to work in a job till about 58 or 60, right? So
Yeah.
uh, along the way, I also decided to pursue entrepreneurship, and I was always open to ideas. I wanted to get into the training industry also. So, I mean, that's another journey which was there in my mind for a long time. And I was lucky, I would say, God has been kind. I was lucky enough to have pursued that because many people actually do plan for something else, but they never really get a chance, or I mean, the circumstances really are not favorable. So,
Yeah.
any of these reasons. So that's how what my journey has been, engineering, and then again something which I did not do from after my engineering. Most people pursued a career in software because again the high time of the 90s, any person wanting to be in software had a ticket to the US available that point in
Yeah.
time. Yeah. So most of my engineering batchmates would be settled in US as of now. I never wanted to be in software, so I pursued a career in sales for a while. Then I thought I should be adding value, so that's how I pursued MBA from IIM Indore. Then was in many other roles, so I
Mhm.
didn't stick on to a particular role.
Right.
So if somebody would ask me what have I done, I mean I've done quite a few things. I'm
Right.
not a specialist in any role. So right from sales to product to strategy to analytics to customer experience, now running an organization. So that's what I've done, and that's what my life has been.
So, it's crazy, right? I mean, we try to do something, we end up doing something, and we have a lot of things going in our mind continuously that we want to keep doing. Um, Talking about entrepreneurship, you talked that you've done a lot of things across your 2 decades of career. Um, and you're currently running, as far as I know, two different organizations. You have a real estate business and a training business. So, how have these multiple roles helped you in this entrepreneurship journey that you're currently doing?
You see,
Is
I believe everything which I did in my corporate role, or even going back to my engineering days, or even the first sales stint. So, Aditya, when you look back to the years which have gone by, believe me, everything has a role in your life. So, if I look back at the few years which I spent in sales, so 2 years after my engineering, and even after my MBA, I was in sales for a couple of years. Believe me, that sales stint definitely helps in entrepreneurship. And one simple reason, you are accustomed to
yeah,
hear no
right.
from the other person.
Yeah.
And that's very important. When you look back at entrepreneurship, लोग मुझसे पूछते हैं सबसे important आपने जो किया लाइफ में जो आपको
Yeah.
काम आ रहा है आज की डेट में. And
Mm.
I tell them one thing, my stint in sales. Yeah, so so I would say everything is really worked for me. So let's say my sales stint had a role to play in my entrepreneurship journey. Now, I used to be the college secretary during my engineering days.
Mhm.
Always had a flair to be on the stage to perform. I believe that stint again helps you in your entrepreneurial
Yes.
journey because rather than rather than you being a provider of service, you're actually a salesperson again because ultimately you need business.
Yes.
You need to close the business, only then can you deliver that product or service.
Mhm.
So again, that stage presence or being comfortable in front of people is again something which helped me in
Mhm.
my entrepreneurship journey. Yeah. And now I run another business, which is real estate. Now we run a couple of ads. I record all those ads, and again we generate a lot of leads, and that's how the entire sales process works in the real
Yeah.
estate industry. Now again, me being comfortable in front of people, me being comfortable in front of this camera.
Yeah.
So as of now, I'm sitting again in front of a camera. So I recorded n number of videos during the COVID era. I recorded a lot of these online courses during the COVID era.
Mhm.
I had some of these courses posted. So everything actually adds up. So this is what I actually would like to tell you also because you're just starting out. So everything that you do today will have some role to play in future.
Right. You mentioned the COVID era. I mean, it was a huge reset, be it come to personal lives, to business lives, and everything. Do you think how did it add value to your experience? I mean, everybody has a different story to tell about COVID, but from an entrepreneurship perspective, you were doing it a certain way before COVID. In between COVID, you started building it a little differently. How did it happen? What was the thought process? How did you go through that change? Would you like to share that?
So first of all, this change was forced upon me. I really can't say about many other people, but yes, I'll be very honest. This was forced upon me. And for the first few months, obviously, it was very difficult in terms of how do you really react to this change.
Yeah.
I was not mentally prepared.
Mhm.
I had just started my training business about year and a half back, that too in the physical domain,
Right.
right? Face to face, all those training
Yes.
sessions, especially for the corporates. And
Mhm.
suddenly the world came crashing down for me.
Yeah.
आदित्य मतलब दुकान बंद हो गई एकदम.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and worst thing, पता भी नहीं था दुकान कब खुलेगी.
Yes. That the uncertainty was crazy.
So the answer, we didn't have a definitive answer
Mhm.
as to when things would normalize, or if at all things,
If at
whether
all
they
it
would
would
actually
really happen.
normalize.
Yeah.
Because there was a time when people said, no, no, this is virtual world will be the world for us to live in the
Yeah.
future. So we knew what was going to happen in the future.
Mhm.
So this uncertainty,
Mhm.
I mean, this was actually forced upon us. We didn't ask for this,
Yeah. Right.
right? So I spent a couple of months in writing something. I mean, that took the shape of a book. So because again, I had actually nothing to do
Mhm.
in the first few months of COVID
Okay.
because there was no corporate business
Mhm.
and any kind of trainings. Obviously, that was last priority for any corporate
Right.
because in those times, right? So even in terms of a virtual session, business was pretty hard to come by.
Correct. Yeah.
So actually totally free for the entire day. I thought rather utilize my time to write something. I was again, so I could devote that time, devote that focus.
Mm-hmm.
So I published my book in 2020. That was, I would say, one good achievement. Now, again, so that book actually helped me launch a couple of courses
Okay.
in 2021 and 22
Mhm.
because I was able to streamline my thoughts, put those
Right.
thoughts together in my book. And again, I was able to launch a couple of courses again for whatever I could do in 2020. So I launched a couple of online courses in 21 and then 22. And then by 22, again, the physical sessions started happening.
Mhm.
So I tried a lot of things. I mean, I remember I publicized on social media,
Yeah.
which was 2021, because I saw some successful people actually garnering thousands of people through
Uh-huh.
these social media ads for their online sessions, making good money.
Yeah.
I thought, why not me? So I did everything possible. Some of things didn't click. I tried a couple of times across 2 years, but things really didn't click.
Okay.
So So started doing those physical sessions. Meanwhile, I was getting some business for my online sessions as well.
Mhm.
But this is how it was kind of between these online physical sessions is how the time went by in 2022 and then 23. Business again normalized towards the end of 22, had a great 23, and then an equally good 24.
Yeah.
So I mean, so this is how life has been in COVID.
So, this book that you wrote, right? You say that the time you had on your hands helped you streamline your thoughts, and then these thoughts became a book. Then the book became a course. Um, does it have to follow through? I mean, obviously, it had to follow in a step-by-step process, right? But then, what helped you structure that? Did you have a set pattern that you were following, or did you do a process or something of that sort? Get to something
No,
else.
things just happened. Yeah, things just happened along the way. As I told you, the book got published. The book was received pretty well. I
Mhm.
could actually circulate it to a lot of my alumni.
Mhm.
And so the book did a couple of good numbers in
Mhm.
terms of it being sold. Got some good reviews on Amazon. And then I thought, why not? So if people have started liking some aspects of the book, why not convert it into a course, which I could again share it with a lot for these corporate employees. So I wouldn't say that I followed a process. Things just happened, and I just took one step at a time, and I saw the next step as to what could be done. And that's how the progress was.
So, this was the course, and you mentioned that you saw a lot of people selling their own courses on social media. So, would you say, I mean, social media played obviously an important role during this whole COVID and post-COVID era of business, right? How did you leverage? I mean, did you just did you look at others and how they were doing things and then probably emulate, or did you create your own SOPs and then go on through it? Or did you do a course of your own from somebody else, learn the things, and then probably start doing it?
So I have a friend who's
Uh-huh.
Gaurav Prakash, and he's pretty good at digital marketing. So he's
Yeah.
been pretty close. So I thought, why not leverage his potential? Why not leverage his time in terms of he really putting up a small piece for me in terms of what could be done in terms of social media. So initially, he helped me. Then I actually hired a professional agency
Mhm.
in terms of what could be done to promote my cause. So we actually went in for paid advertisements on Facebook, Insta. We also did a lot of work on Google SEO so that people searching for those relevant things could actually bump into my name or to my
Yes.
website. So we did everything that we could do. I wouldn't say that I really went in for a course per se because Aditya, these are some of the things which you learn by hit and trial.
Right.
You do 10 things and then you hope that at least one or two things will work out.
Yeah.
Right? Things worked out, but not in the proportion, not in the numbers that I was
Mhm.
wishing them to.
Right.
Yeah. So I still believe social media has really been a saver for many people. And I also believe that if I had to reach out to people, there were only two ways. One was the organic reach. So
Mhm.
let's say you're there on LinkedIn, you're there on Insta, YouTube. So organically, your posts or your videos can reach a
Yes.
specific audience.
Yes.
But that's a long-term approach. If you really need to make a dent in the short term, you obviously need to go in for those paid
Yes.
advertisements.
Mhm.
These are the only two ways of reaching out to people. Otherwise, how would you really reach out? So I tried both the aspects, but as I told you, things didn't work out in the numbers that I was wishing them
Right.
to.
Mhm.
So this was the journey. But again, now getting back to the real estate business, I believe whatever shortfalls or whatever limitations I faced in my training industry, I was able to overcome them. I would say possibly because of some of the learnings which I have had,
Mhm.
and things have been, or I've been receiving the numbers, or I've been seeing the numbers which I really wanted to see in the training industry, but I've actually see them in the real estate industry now. So
So,
things have worked out well.
how is the response different? Is it because the exact market is different and then people respond more because they're looking to buy real estate and a little probably the corporates are a little apprehensive when they want to look for a new trainer or something of that sort? There's a little more uh, interest when it comes to buying real estate, probably that way.
I, I would agree to what you're saying for somebody who's really, see, because real estate is again more of an individual decision. A
Mhm.
person who decides really needs to make that call.
Yeah,
And in case of trainings, I was working more with the corporates, so I was really relying on n number of people to be in consent of they wanting me or
yeah.
wanting me, my kind of a person as a speaker for their organization.
Mhm.
And I really don't know other than that what could be the reason.
Yeah,
But real estate also, I wouldn't say things worked out in the very first month. I
right, right.
again went through the trial and error process.
Mhm.
The ads didn't work out for the first 2 months. I replaced the ads. It didn't work out to the extent I wanted them to. I again replaced the ads. We tweaked with
Hit
the
and trial
algorithm.
was very important there.
Again, hit and trial. We went through that hit and trial process, which we went through in the training industry,
Yeah,
in the training regime also.
yeah.
But things started working out in the real estate part.
So I had this another guest a few couple of episodes back. He talked a lot about referrals, right? He has written a complete book on referrals as to get more business from referrals. And you mentioned, I think you mentioned Mr. Saurabh Bajaj, right? Your batchmate, who helped you begin this on the whole social media journey. So from that one referral to probably a whole plethora of referrals, did you see that journey? Within customers, and how has that been different? You know, if you
The
have.
reference, I would say, definitely plays a part because even if you're willing to spend tons of money on social media,
Mhm.
you're still talking to strangers.
Yeah,
But when you have one, two, or three good referrals to support you,
yes,
that's much more than what any ad could do for you.
right.
So if I look back at the time when I started into the training industry, definitely I had a lot of help from my engineering batchmates
Mhm.
or from my engineering seniors.
Right.
Aditya, that was also one reason was, see, I graduated in 2001 from IIM Indore. We were only the second batch.
Yeah.
So technically, we didn't have any seniors in the
Correct.
industry.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, but I talk about my engineering college. My engineering college is more than 50 years old.
Mhm.
So we had the alumni
Right.
across organizations,
Mhm.
across different senior positions, so as to
Correct.
say.
Correct.
Yeah, so that made a difference. But yes, so a lot of support from my IIM batchmates, a lot of support from my engineering batchmates. And so whoever could kind of give me a year or actually fix my meeting with the right person in their organization, I did receive that help, and that's really helped in the initial part of my journey.
So this networking that we have, right? We build this network over decades. It could be through our alma mater or through our years in the industry. Um, this network also plays a role on the when we come online, when we come on the social network or we use digital media. On LinkedIn, you have a very strong presence. You have posts coming on every day, every second day. Um, how does the engagement affect you? I mean, people leave a lot of comments, and be it positive or negative. How do you react to those, uh, personally, or if you have any suggestions to give to others?
So first of all, I really don't have a very great following on LinkedIn because if I compare to some of my colleagues, they do extremely well.
Mhm.
So, but yes, I've been kind of consistent, at least let's say three, four, five posts in a week. I've been consistent on that. But yes, I can share that. So, Aditya, on LinkedIn, you still have most of these comments from people who've been interacting with you.
Mhm.
Not so-called a stranger who would come in and really write a lot of comments on your posts.
Okay.
But the story is totally different on an Insta or a YouTube.
Yeah. Right.
Total strangers putting in nasty comments or putting in whatever they have to say
Yeah.
because they hardly know you.
Right.
Yeah. And there's no way in which you would know their profile. In LinkedIn, again, you can go back and check the other person's profile as to why he's written
Right.
that.
Right.
Insta, YouTube, you really don't have any idea as to who the person was who's
Correct. Correct.
left the comment.
Right.
So beyond a point, Aditya, you start, the comments help you first of all to improve. Sometimes you need to take the comments in the right stride because somebody may have given you great feedback
Right.
and you need to be open to what the other person has said.
Mhm.
But many a times, you actually need to ignore these comments also.
Right. Okay.
Because, somebody may have left that comment in sheer frustration.
Mhm.
That person may have had a bad day in his life or a bad moment that he was passing through.
Yeah.
And he actually had to vent out his anger on somebody.
Mhm.
And on social media, being on YouTube or Insta, that's the best part. You just open up anything, write any rubbish, and you just walk off.
Uh-huh.
So you ought to be able to differentiate between a comment which is a good feedback,
Mhm.
and you need to be taking that in the right earnest, versus a comment which may have, which somebody may have just left in sheer frustration.
Right. This little part of the conversation, I think I've taken you towards your training personality where you're sitting in front of an audience and telling them about something. Do you have any specific anecdote you want to share that from your training sessions that you've taken, or a specific question that came up to you that you liked a lot and you responded to it?
So I obviously enjoy doing these day-long sessions.
Yeah.
So normally, so there are two types of sessions which you do. One is a very pretty short, 45-minute keynote session, or even a 1 to 2 hour session,
Mhm.
wherein you hardly get to know the audience because you just
Right.
come there as a T20 batter.
Yeah.
You play your innings and you're just off the field.
Correct.
While when you're there in a day-long session, you
Mhm.
get to interact with people, you get to know them, and so Aditya, what I felt was it's when you're there for a day-long session. So I did a lot of work for two Tata Group companies, and for most of these sessions, which are day-long sessions, many a times you start you as you start connecting more with the audience. So let's say your first break happens before lunch,
Yeah.
the first tea break. Then you again break for lunch, and then you again get to interact. So, the connect which happens in the tea break and during the lunch break. So, the moment you start getting to know your audiences better, I believe that helps me to modulate my sessions or even to introduce some new aspects in
Mhm.
my sessions which I had not thought about.
Right.
So I wouldn't recall a specific incidents per se, but yes, this has really happened a number of times wherein I actually omitted certain things which I was supposed to cover after lunch.
Mhm.
This is my talk with the audience, an informal talk over lunch, or I added, in a way, I modified some content basis the talk which I had. So I believe these day-long sessions have a role to play in terms of trainings because that connect helps you understand actually what is it that the audience actually needs.
I think that is what the whole customer experience thing, understanding the audience as a speaker or as a trainer is what it's all about, right? I mean, you have a set of students and they or students or audience you want to cover certain things with, and then you take them through whatever they need first, and rather than just do what you committed and then do that. Next, what I want to ask, I mean, there's nothing specific I want to ask about. Is there right now, is there something that comes to mind from your college days that you want to talk about specifically after 20 years? Is there something that still comes to mind that probably tilted you towards going to take up training? Something that hits you.
Not really. So again, I would say we definitely during our college days, I'm sure you would have done those similar courses in terms of
Yeah.
strategizing, envisioning, all those things. But again, 10, 20 years is a pretty long time frame. And if somebody were to ask me, so let's say 2012, 13, I possibly had no inclination of getting into entrepreneurship.
Okay.
I was doing pretty well in my job,
Hmm.
uh, getting promoted every few years, liking what I was doing. So
Right.
actually, I had no reasons. So
Hmm.
if I look back during my college days, obviously you start off with a nice package after your graduation, and so life was pretty good. I would say there was nothing which I was looking at in terms of doing extra, even about 12 years back. So there are many things which just happen along the way, and the only thing I would say education gives you. is the ability to be open to opportunities.
Right.
And that's very important. बहुत बार लोग पूछते हैं कि पढ़ाई में क्या सीखा था क्या नहीं सीखा था. क्या आप opportunities को देखना सीख पाए कि नहीं? Now, I wouldn't say that I'm an expert in that.
Yeah.
Obviously, people my age who've achieved 100 times more, 1,000 times more than what I have done in my life. But so again, talking about this real estate business, which just came along a couple of years back. Now, somebody would say, from an IIM background, why into real estate? Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was open. I mean, I could see the gap
Right.
in terms of the profile of people which were there in this industry.
Hmm.
And I thought a lot more credibility was required in terms of kind of people who are entering this industry.
Right.
So I could see the gap and I saw that I could add value to this industry. So again, that ability to see those gaps and
Identify
see
the
if you're the right fit, see if this is something that you can actually do and something that you can really enjoy doing.
opportunity.
And I realized this is again an extension of the training industry. वहां पर भी तो लोगों से बात ही तो करता था आदित्य.
Right.
यहाँ पर भी मैं लोगों से बात ही करता हूँ. So I thought this just to be an extension of what I was doing and what I actually enjoy doing.
So, do you want to tell us what is the exact gap that you're trying to fill? Is it just the credibility that the people are there in the industry, or is there a specific gap that you're trying to fill in when you join the real estate business?
So again, the credibility and the trust. So buying a house is a pretty expensive proposition today. It was even during my time when I
Yeah,
left the college,
yeah,
and I would say the ratio may just be the same. So it's still buying a house is one of the biggest financial decisions that a person takes in his life.
correct.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure people pay more for a house than what people would have in their stock market portfolio. So it's the biggest financial decision, and whenever that person is wanting to make that decision, he just wants a trustworthy person on the other side. That's all.
Mhm. So, yeah.
So a credible face who he could believe
Hmm. Okay.
whether whatever he's decided is it the right thing for him, and obviously somebody who could give that person an impartial advice
Okay.
and not just trying to make a sale.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so I saw that gap in terms of people not being able to trust the other person, the real estate advisors, or everybody just trying to close their own sale rather than giving an impartial advice to the buyer
Hmm.
because everybody was interested in achieving their own numbers. So I saw all those gaps and I thought, yeah, there was this gap and I could really add some value. So very simple.
Okay. Um, So there was this one LinkedIn post that I saw. This is about the previous statement that you made that it just happened getting into business. Uh, I just read that these days there are a lot of people who are getting into business, trying to get into entrepreneurship when they see a gap, and it's not because they want a challenge or probably obviously everybody is looking for a challenge in their career, but then there is also the fact that they are at a secure place in their career and they have with savings made up, and they are now at a position where they can take that risk, whether it be it on a career basis, from a financial basis, and then it's a good place to be in your career, and then you have the opportunity to look at the market as it is, and then uh, how things are, and probably you can find a gap and then fill it. Before I close this conversation, I want to tell everybody how this conversation even started from that 200th milestone email newsletter that you sent out. And then I thought that why not do a very special episode? Since it was my 25th episode, I thought why not just take this conversation forward? Since it was a very special milestone email newsletter for you, what emotions did it bring out? Obviously, you mentioned it in the newsletter, but you want to tell everybody else um, about that milestone and how you got there.
So I think this was again in 2021.
Hmm.
So when I started doing some of these online sessions, short sessions, and so there was one module which I had developed, which was in terms of leadership communication, and storytelling was one part of that module. Now, storytelling is something which every one of us is good at.
Yeah,
देखो हम सब हिंदी में अगर बात करें कहानी सब सुनाना जानते हैं
right,
राइट सबको
right.
आती है कहानी सुनना but you know again this is one skill which can be improved with practice Now, when I was conducting these small online sessions, there was no way for me to be in touch with those participants except for being in touch with them over an email
Mhm.
or wishing that possibly they come across my LinkedIn post, which I would be dependent on LinkedIn for that algorithm. I
Mhm.
don't know to whom that post will actually go. I
Yeah.
don't have a control over that, right? So, so initial few weeks, I just thought I will get in touch with some of my participants and just share another letter, share the small incidents around my life, weave that into a story, and just share with them. So
Mhm.
this was my initial thought, and this is actually how I started with
Mhm.
a small group of participants. And because initially I was not sure whether I would be able to write for a couple of weeks,
Okay.
whether I would really have the content available
Yeah.
to write that long. So I didn't have any milestones when I started. Initial few weeks was just sharing whatever had happened in my life in that entire week, just
Mhm.
weave that into a story and share it with those participants who
Mhm.
had really gone through my training workshop.
Yeah.
And slowly, I thought I can really write every week.
Mhm.
And that's how, I mean, more people started joining that letter. Some people on LinkedIn started subscribing to that letter.
Mhm.
And then it was more like a commitment.
Right.
So my mid 2021, obviously it was more like a commitment.
Okay.
So come what may. So it was, I believe, in 2021 only I decided that this letter will go on a Thursday, and I decided on a specific time. And so it's been more than 3 years now. So this was the 200, but obviously initial 30, 40 were not very regular.
Okay.
Last about 3 years or so, I mean, last about 150, 160 letters. Uh, so very sure, come what may, that letter has to go at 11:35 a.m. on a Thursday. So, this instilled a kind of deep-rooted commitment within me,
Mhm.
uh, discipline in terms of something which has to be done.
Right.
And, every week, so I don't borrow the stories from anywhere. I just pick up something which happened in my life. So
Mhm.
90% of the time, it's kind of there, something around my life.
Mhm.
I just weave that in a story and share with all my participants. So that's what I've been doing. And looks nice. So definitely achieving landmarks is pretty exciting for all of us.
Yeah.
But more than that, yeah, that consistency
Mhm.
and I believe everything is helping me because now I've been posting about 3, 4 videos every week for the last couple of years.
Mhm.
Now writing this mail every week for the last about 3+ years.
Right.
So I believe that consistency, if you get that consistency in your life, things start appearing all the more easier. Uh,
Right.
mentally, I'm mentally I'm prepared for all the more bigger challenges or bigger goals in my life because I know I can be consistent in my life, so I can really achieve what I set out to. So that adds on to your confidence. That's what the story of this newsletter has been.
Yeah. I mean, success. I mean, people say it's an overnight success, but it's always the consistency that has played the bigger role. And then you see sudden, and that's what everybody sees. People don't see what's been happening for a very long time. Thank you for
Like you mentioned, this is the 25th episode, so I'm
that.
sure now that you there on 25th, you will have a 50th, you'll have 100th. But when you started, I don't know if you had
I
a
had
figure
no
of 50 or
idea.
100 in mind.
That's right. That's right. Thank you so much for joining in on this very special episode. Do you want to share some contact details that people can reach out to you if you have a website or something that you want to share? The-
So very simple. I mean, anyone wanting to write can write to me at bansal@vikasbansal.com. Very simple ID.
Okay.
And yeah, otherwise I'm there on YouTube, I'm there on Insta, I'm there on LinkedIn. Again, not a great following per se, but yes, if you happen to get onto my channel, you will definitely come across something, a couple of things every week is what I can definitely promise.
Great. It was a great conversation. Thank you for joining me on this very special episode. To the listeners and viewers, if you like the episode, do leave a comment, do like and subscribe if you do consider me that this episode and the other episodes are worth watching. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you.